And welcome back, everyone, to yet another edition of the Sports Frenzy podcasting. Holzwarth, Andy McDonald joining me once again. Fellas, had a pretty hectic past couple of days, especially dealing with the rain in West Michigan. But thankfully, we're all here now and ready to talk some sports. Again, we've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, once again, talking about the demise of the Tigers and the Lions after that second preseason game. Looked a little bit better, but still some things to talk about there. We also have Andy's sports memory that we're going to get to at the end of the show, but we want to begin with the Whitecaps, who just keep on winning. I mean, we talked about when they lost, maybe there's some of their top prospects, that maybe this team, and they had already clinched a playoff spot, that maybe they kind of fall back a little bit. That has not been the case. And just in the second half, they are 30-13, and we were talking about this before we got started. Overall record throughout this year, through 108 games, they have 74 wins. We've given Tony Cappuccelli a ton of credit for everything that he's done this season, but really just cannot say how much he's really gotten this team really ready to go and kind of gearing towards that playoff push.
Yeah, it's been really fun. You know, I've worked through Whitecaps 3 or 4 games now the past couple of weeks when they had that long homestand, and just watching. You know, no letdown whatsoever, obviously, after the promotions, but just watching them just find ways to win has just been amazing, you know, and they have pitching. They have a really solid bullpen, they have a really good lineup, and it doesn't matter who they plug in. They're just contributing, and it's been fun to watch. And I'll tell you what, the attendances from our LMCU this year has been absolutely amazing. Even like on Tuesday, Wednesday, there's over 6,000 people there. And so curious to see the end of the season. I bet they break franchise record for attendance. Obviously, they're going to break franchise record for wins. It's just been really exciting here in West Michigan to see these Whitecaps perform and have the success that they have.
No doubt. Yeah, it's been great crowds for the most part for most of the summer. And I feel like, we kind of wondered if, like, the Max Clark and Jose Bersueño and Kevin McGonigal, if, like, that effect was, like, a really big deal, kind of with the crowds early in the season. It seems like it's really not it. Just people want to come watch a lot of these prospects. Obviously, the Tigers have one of the highest-ranked systems in baseball, the highest-ranked right now. And, yeah, like, to be able to get through all the different promotions, I mean, obviously the first set of promotions was a big deal, but this past one was huge, too. And they're still able to find a way to get wins. That's super impressive. And I think it just kind of says a lot about the culture that Cappuccelli's kind of brought this year. He's found a way to make these guys play upbeat and find a way to make them win. I think winning early in the season either way helps that because, I think a lot of these guys have still played with each other at different points, and they, like, next man up. We have a good system. Like, they probably believe that they are the best out there right now. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching. I'm excited to see how they're able to closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, no, definitely something that we're going to be keeping a close eye on there. I mean, as far as playoffs are concerned with this team, they've already got a spot lined up and everything like that. But, I mean, is this kind of like a make or break season for the Whitecaps? Like, should we be expecting a deep playoff run just from what we've seen now? Or is it kind of, we've gotten back to the playoffs. The team is starting to make that turn. Should we maybe be feeling a little bit more grateful?
Yeah, obviously they hadn't reached the playoffs in, I think, 8 years. Haven't won a Midwest League title in 10 years. And so I think getting to the playoffs was that first goal. And like I said, I mean, winning's contagious. And I feel like if they continue, these last 3 weeks and continue to win and play the way they have been, I think there's no reason why they can't win a Midwest League title. Obviously Seth Stevenson and John Peck just got brought up to AA Erie. But, they're bringing guys up from Lakeland who I think are going to do a really nice job for them. So, I just think, like Andy said, the culture this year and, everything that Cappuccelli's been doing has obviously been, right on point. And so, as long as they keep doing what they're doing, I think they're going to have success. And it's funny because the Midwest League playoffs used to be drawn out. It's super short now. It's like these little 3-game series. So, when they will go on the road for the first game, and then the next 2 games will be in West Michigan for that first round series. So.
For sure. I feel like at this level, it matters more than anything else, like how you're playing at the end of the season. So I think how the Whitecaps kind of finish the season will matter a lot. At least it seems to be that way at the minor league level sometimes because, like, you can be one of those teams that's really, really good to start, and then you do lose some of those players, and it completely changes the whole, side of the team, even if, like, your seeding is really high. So the Whitecaps have been able to do a good job of maneuvering all those moves that have been made throughout the organization. And I don't think really expecting them to make a deep run is, like, something that you should do, I guess. It's kind of always hard to tell at this level. But if they win like 8 in a row or something like that going into the playoffs, then yeah, you probably expect them to play as good as they've played all year. Because right now, when you have what is 74 and 34, you said?
Yes, 74 and 34.
Doesn't matter who's been starting for him or playing for him. It seems to be doing the job right now. So I definitely wouldn't expect them to be a first round exit. We'll see what they're able to do with who they have left in the team.
Yeah, and to your point, Phil.
Yeah.
I think fans might be like, hey, they've had they're 40 games over 500. They should win the championship, right? And obviously some fans don't really know about promotions and don't follow as closely as we do or whatever. But no, I like I said, I think they definitely have a chance. But I don't think that's the end all be all for this season because it's just been a historic season for them.
That is kind of one of the downsides. Obviously, it's great seeing all these great players kind of come through. Watching their careers. Eventually maybe making it to the pros and with the Tigers and everything like that. But again, you can't expect this team to maybe be as dominant as they were with some of those top guys after they're gone. But somehow the Whitecaps have managed to do that. I mean, we touched on the fact that they already have a playoff spot in the second half. They still are leading the entirety of the Midwest League, both divisions right now. Do they get an award maybe for finishing in first for both halves of the season?
I think so.
Yeah, they should at least,
point.
probably.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive to do, especially when we're talking about what we're talking about, losing all those players. I mean, to still have that record, I don't think any of us would have said they probably would have had the best one in the second half.
No,
so.
you expect a little bit of a letdown, right?
Right,
It's
for
just
sure.
It hasn't happened.
It's natural. I mean, think about the Griffins when we talked about them all year earlier this year. They had the best record in their franchise's history to start the season. The minute they lost their players, it was a completely different team. So it's like that's usually what happens, and you can't really blame the team or the players on the team because when you take away core pieces, it's kind of how it goes. But whatever Cappicelli's got going on over there, he needs to keep doing because it seems to be working pretty well for him right now.
Absolutely. And it makes all the more sense for me to say this now. But again, if you haven't been out to a Whitecaps game so far this season, go on out there. They're so much fun. The atmosphere is great. And the product on the field now kind of matches to that overall atmosphere. It's just going to be a great time. I mean, I've only been once so far this season, but they won in dramatic fashion. And I'm usually a bad luck charm for my team. So anytime that they can do that, definitely highly recommend checking that out. But now kind of on the flip side, a team that, I tried to keep it positive to start off this show, again, with talking about the Whitecaps, but we do have to talk about the Tigers a little bit. Again, still slumping, still just can't really seem to pick back up where they were at the end of last year and at the beginning of this year. So let's start off with the Tigers. Again, main focus has to be the bullpen once again and just how it really just isn't clicking for this team. And we continue to see it game after game after game.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been frustrating so far with everything since the deadline. I mean, Kyle Finnegan has been the one bright spot. You have to give him that. He's been 3 for 3, I think, in save opportunities. Actually, they're playing the White Sox again right now, and he just got out of the 8th inning, so that happened. So he's definitely been a good add to this bullpen. I think everybody kind of thought that when he got signed. It's not like that was like a bad signing. That was fine, but you expect him to make like a bigger splash with some of the prospects they have. And clearly Rafael Montero, I think that might be one of the worst signings I've ever seen like a winning organization make at the deadline and say it's going to help because he just hasn't been good. Paul Sewald hasn't been up yet. He's still injured. I think I just saw in the injury report yesterday he's completing his rehab assignment. Who knows when he's going to come back? That was supposed to be help. Obviously, they're hoping that Alex Lane can come back and stuff like that. But it's a lot of ifs for a team that had a record like that. And last night's just a perfect example when the Tigers lost 9-6 to the White Sox, a team that's just not good. If your team's able to put up 6 runs in any facet, you should be able to win. And they couldn't hold the White Sox to less than that. And Jack Flaherty got hit around. And, I think it's kind of the thing for me is the starting pitching more or less than the bullpen at times too has been just as bad. I mean, the bullpen's been able to get out of some innings with Tyler Holton pitching a little bit better lately. But Casey Mize, he's been getting hit around with a lot of home runs lately. Even though he was able to get out of the White Sox game with only 1 run the other day, it looked a little rough. Obviously, Jack Flaherty had a lot of bad luck hits the other night, but he's been getting smacked around on and off all year. Obviously, we know it's been well documented with like Kenta Maeda and stuff like that. It's just some of these starting pitching prospects that he's brought in. I mean, Paddock and Morton is to be seen so far. I'm not going to, Paddock looked okay, but again, it's against the White Sox. He should look good against the White Sox. Like, it's just, it makes me wonder, what direction they're going to go in the future with some of these pitching prospects. Right now, it seems to be a pretty big issue for this team. And then it seems like when they do get some good pitching, like they did today from Troy Melton when he gets a spot start, they haven't been able to score runs. So it just feels like the mojo's kind of off all around this team right now. But it definitely seems to start with the pitching overall before anything else for the most part.
Yeah, and you use the word slumping, Tigers. I don't know if they're slumping, right? Like 5-5 in their last 10. They had won 9 out of 14. So obviously they're not doing what they did in the first half and with these long winning streaks. But like I said last week, I think if they continue to win each series, then they're going to be okay. Obviously, you got down to 6 with the lead with Cleveland. Cleveland's been hot. But no, like the pitching has to get better. But like you saw good stuff from Chris Paddock. Okay, I know it was the White Sox, but 2 out of his 3 starts have been super solid. Troy Melton today. So like I think the starting pitching is going to get better as a whole. And you're right, we need to shore up that bullpen a little bit. Finnegan's done a great job so far. So I think just getting everything on the same path, same line, like everything's going to gel at the same time, and then everybody's going to be fine. Andy's not going to freak out anymore about losing to bad teams. They got Minnesota coming up, but like these are the teams that they should be, coming into the dog days of August.
Yeah, for me, it's just like when you do see the losses, it seems to always be the same way where they're just giving up a bunch of runs. And that's just, I think, when you watch the Tigers and they were in this, winning stretch going back to last year, they were not giving up many games more than 4 runs. So it's just like, that's kind of the difference is it just seems like they're having a hard time finding that same mojo. Again, we've talked about the momentum with this team. It just feels like they don't I feel like they're walking on eggshells every time they play a game right now. It just feels different than it has in the past, and that's kind of where I'm at right now with all of it. So
yeah, and the bullpen was so good last year. Yeah. Those last 6-7 weeks of the season, right?
The
that's
pitching
what helped
chaos
them
thing
get over.
was out of nowhere. But again, that's where I think there might be a problem with the general manager. It's just like all these guys that were going out there and doing the pitching chaos, nobody in the majors had any film on, or not much at all, was all at the minor league level. I mean, you're talking about Brant Herter and players like that are just have not had the same seasons this year. Tyler Holton's been better of late, but he obviously hasn't been as dominant. Like all these guys, I feel like they kind of got lucky on last year, and they're starting to pay for it now a little bit more because they're not actually major league pitchers.
Right. Oh, I think that kind of begs the question kind of to what Andy was talking about with the front office being kind of at the forefront of maybe why the Tigers are struggling a little bit. We saw that they didn't really want to trade any of those top prospects at the trade deadline. I mean, I hate to keep harping on it because it's in the past. Can't really do anything about it now. But why is there maybe this sort of feeling to hang on to all of these prospects when the window is so clearly right now, especially when you could upgrade that bullpen, you could get another hitter, or you could maybe think about moving some of these guys around a little bit, maybe either for a trade or even just bringing them up to the Tigers, because kind of like what you both were saying, it feels like one side is always one way or the other per game. Either the pitching is really great and the offense is kind of or struggling, or the offense is kind of struggling and the pitching is having to kind of get them out of that. So again, I mean, just refocusing on the front office again. Why is it so important to hang on to these guys? I mean, are we looking at the future? Are we looking 2 years down the line, 1 year down the line, or is this a bigger project maybe that we're not going to see anytime soon?
I think Scott Harris didn't want to gamble, right? He didn't want to give away these really, really good prospects and have them go someplace else and become all-stars, right? I think there was a little fear involved there. Like, we can't give away these top guys who could make it up to Detroit in the next couple of years, could help this team continue to win. So I think there's a little fear involved there, and he just didn't want to roll the dice and give up those guys, for a better pitcher, a better position player, whatever the case may be. So I think that's what his maybe mindset was we just can't afford to do that right now because our minor league system's so good. We just don't want to give up so much right now.
Yeah, we truly don't know what's going on in their mind in the front office, and we don't know what the decisions are. The fact of the matter is the Tigers are like the 5th best team still in baseball right now. Obviously, the play hasn't been the same as it was as what got them there, but they are there in the standings. So, by no means is it calling for the front office's head or anything, and you got to let things play out before you can officially judge it anyway. Yeah. It's just the gut feeling thing right now is that they maybe didn't make enough moves at the deadline or make the right moves, I guess, would be the better word. But I agree with you, Dean. I think that he just didn't want to roll the dice at all. I don't think he wanted to trade some of these prospects, but that's kind of the thing for me is we don't know the future, but if we have to, guess what could happen in the future, obviously the Terry Skubal contract is going to be a big deal, right? Are they going to sign him? Are they going to keep him? If they don't, then it's okay, what were we doing back with this team when we had him, when he can probably win you 2 games in a playoff series, And that seems to be something for me where it's why wouldn't you want to strengthen this team right now? Obviously, the Dave Dombrowski way of going about things, when the Tigers were good back in the day was, I don't care what prospects I have. I'm going to ship all of them off, and I'm going to trade them to make the team better that I have right now. And obviously, you have to pay money to do that, too. The Tigers aren't the lowest payroll in baseball. I mean, it means they're actually somewhat towards the middle with some of the players they're paying. But, they have so many prospects that, again, I think we kind of talked about in shows in the past that you got to wonder if they'll ever see the field for the Tigers with how many young guys they have right now. And maybe they're going to make some decisions, and maybe Scott Harris is all about his guys, and they're going to get rid of a Torkelson, or they're going to get rid of a Riley Green. They're not going to sign him. I don't know. But because obviously they have guys like Max Clark, McGonigal, Bersenio, all these guys. Dylan Dingler, the catcher, he's been great all year. So it's just like, I don't know what decisions they're going to make in the future, and I don't know what goes in that. But I think the overall message of what I get from it more than anything else is Scott Harris didn't feel that strong about this team winning a World Series this year. Because if you didn't make those moves and get rid of some of those guys like a Max Anderson or a Lorenzo or stuff like that are kind of, the fifth or sixth prospects in your system, albeit they are close to the top 100, if not in it. I think you could have got rid of some of those guys to really strengthen the back end of this bullpen. That does something to people's mental psyche too. Like obviously the Tigers are the kind of clubhouse that when they get players like that, they seem to feel good about it no matter what. They're not going to bat on each other or say anything bad. But I have to think that with how good they had of a first half, even despite that 12 out of 13 games that they lost, they probably were like, we need help right now, and it's clear we need something to give us some juice, and they didn't get it. So I mean, Gleyber Torres said it straight up that he wanted Suarez. So like. That that players feel that way at times, and they didn't make those moves, and obviously it's a business, but I do think that it kind of says to me this year they held on to all of those prospects that everybody talks about, that he just doesn't think they can win it this year. Or if they do, it's just going to be something that they get hot towards the playoffs, and that's what it is,
Yeah.
Well, and then that also begs the question about what about this team did he not see as winning a championship team, or that is maybe not a piece or two away from winning a game from winning a World Series this year? Because I think we can all agree that at least at the beginning of the season, when they were dominating the way that they were, it looked like that they were on pace to make it well through October. But obviously things have changed, and maybe they have picked up on that a little bit earlier. But again, I still feel like this team is just one or two pieces away from getting back to where they were, having fun again, and again, being favorites probably at least in the American League, if not in the entire majors. Because right now, I don't think anybody's really thinking the Tigers have a shot at winning the World Series at this point.
Yeah, I think he'll get second guessed, right? Like if they make an early exit from the playoffs, then he'll get second guessed, right? And why didn't you make these moves to make yourselves better? But I don't know. I disagree a little bit, Andy. I do think that he thinks that this team, that's why he kind of stood pat. I think he does believe that this team has the pieces to win a World Series, because you're right. Why wouldn't you do it? So I think in his head, he might still think that this is enough to get over the hump and have some success in the postseason.
I can't disagree with you fully. I mean, if he believes in his guys, he believes in his guys. That's fine. I just don't think his guys are going to get it done. I think the bullpen's been proving that for 2 months now, that they're not good enough to get the job done when it matters against good enough hitters. So to me, it's like the pitching staff as a whole is maybe the reason that he didn't think that they would be good enough to win it all. I'm not sure if he thinks that or doesn't. I'm sure that he does think that they can win it all with what they have. But it's like, I'm not, I guess, obviously he's never actually going to think that himself, or if he does, he's not going to make it public. But you got to think just with some of the arms that were out there and available, and you have the best system in baseball. It's like, why couldn't you get rid of a couple of those guys? Because some of those pitchers did go for players the Tigers definitely have in their system. He just didn't want to get rid of them. Maybe 2 years down from the road from now, we'll be thanking them when they're constantly competing for the World Series. But it just seems to me they have a little bit of a pitching problem right now. There's nobody in the minor leagues that really, I mean, Jaden Ham is maybe your best, look right now at as a pitcher. I mean, other than that, it's kind of it's questionable. That's for sure. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Yeah. But I just feel that this year they could have done a little more.
Exactly. No, I think a lot of people would agree with you, Andy, and I think a lot of people would agree with all of us in just saying that we're hoping for the best for the Tigers. But obviously
they just beat the White Sox 1-0. Does that make sense?
Does
that really make you guys feel better?
No,
I mean they won the series.
They beat the White Sox. They win a series.
They won beat the White Sox.
Come on. It doesn't matter how you win games, Andy. Exactly. As long as you win.
I guess
no one's gonna look back and say, "Oh, it was only 1-0."
I'm one to think ahead constantly. So it's fine. They got by them, I guess. But
a win is a win.
Cleveland's not going to lose for the rest of the season, apparently. So they better find a way to keep winning games, because it's been insane. Tigers have, I think you said it, Dean. I wouldn't really call it a slump, But man, like Cleveland just is not losing baseball games. Like I think that
it seems like it, like you said, Phil, because you're right, because Cleveland's winning and the lead keeps shrinking more and more. So
they've just been that hot. Like they haven't. Like, I think the Tigers did win like 9-14 after that losing streak. Like
they did.
They played good enough baseball. They probably still should have like an 8 or 9 game lead at least. But yeah, the Guardians have just been that good.
Yeah, no, and they're not the only ones. We just see the lead diminish in a whole bunch of different stats, whether it's the American League Central or the American League. You know, with the Blue Jays kind of dominating the way that they've been.
Milwaukee's dominating.
Yeah, but in the majors overall, you've got the Brewers and the Cubs and you know
27-4 for the Brewers. I think the Tigers what was that back in the '84 year or whatever? It was 35-5.
35-5. Yeah,
that's they got a chance. They got a chance. Yeah. So we'll see if they do it.
As somebody who's been to quite a few Brewers games, they're going to lose in the first round. It doesn't matter. So even with all this success, but that does kind of beg the question a little bit of just not really the question, but just kind of got to keeping an eye on the Tigers. Hopefully they are able to just kind of, like what Dean said, win the series. They don't have to win every game, but at least win the series and just kind of manage that lead over Cleveland as best as they can.
Yeah, Cleveland's not going to continue this stretch. Yeah. I mean, the Tigers did a little bit last year, but they're not going to continue this.
Right. It would be kind of funny if it just cycled between AL Central teams year after year.
Wild.
Somebody just gets hot at the right time and somehow makes it to the playoffs. Let's shift sports now a little bit and talk about the Lions. Kind of improved a little bit in their second preseason game against the Atlanta Falcons. They were able to come out victorious. Obviously, the big story out of that game was that the game did not finish as planned after Maurice Norris was carted off the field, taken in an ambulance. We are glad to know that he is doing better. He's still in concussion protocol, but he at least has feeling in all of his extremities and all of that. Good news there. But let's talk about the game a little bit. And obviously, the big story I think that we all kind of keyed in on before the game and now after the game is the backup quarterback position. Somebody's going to have to take over that position. I feel like Hendon Hooker and Kyle Allen are fighting to not be that position right now. Dan Campbell said that they played a little bit better in that second preseason game against Atlanta, but Hendon Hooker, I think, is probably the main focus right now, and just how kind of underwhelming he's been. This was his preseason to really shine. You know, we talked about it last year when Teddy Bridgewater had to come in really off the, out of nowhere to fill in. And now Hendon Hooker presumably was going to be that second guy, but now he's not. So far in the preseason, I looked at his stats. He is 10 for 16, pretty good. Only for 56 yards. Yeah. He has thrown a pick, but he does have 36 rushing yards. How would you kind of gauge how Hendon Hooker has been this preseason?
I think you can see a lot of the problems of him being young, too, with the fumbles. I think that's the other big thing, because he's had drives that are going on and kind of protecting the ball in the pocket. In the NFL, they'll swat that thing out of your hands, that's for sure. So I think he's kind of learning some of that, too. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't looked good enough. I mean, if Jared Goff gets hurt, we probably all understand the season's not going to go as well as you would want it to go either way if these two are your backups. But, like, you want someone that can maybe at least give you a chance to win with all the talent that's still around them. And I don't think I've seen enough from Hendon Hooker right now to be that guy for the first 2 weeks. I mean, Kyle Allen had a lot of good throws, I think, in this game, and he looked a lot better.
He did.
I think there's a reason they did that. He's been a backup before in this league, and he's had some successful games. I feel like that's the reason they went out and got him. And right now, if he keeps playing that way, the Lions have shown in the past that I think it was David Blau and gosh, I'm forgetting the other quarterback was the time. They weren't good backups, but they cut.
Says a lot that we can't remember.
Yeah,
his name.
I mean, they literally cut both of them after the fourth preseason game and then moved on. I mean, obviously Hendon Hooker is their draft pick. They took him where they took him, but they've shown that they can be savages with that if somebody's going to help the team. So I think Hendon Hooker's kind of playing for his life right now in this third preseason game, because Kyle Allen looked a lot better, and I think he might win that number 2 job if he keeps it up.
Yeah, Hooker has a lot to prove, or he's going to get hooked out of Detroit. There's your punt for the day. There's your punt for the day.
Yeah,
but no, he has a lot to prove. Like Andy said, the next couple games he really has to kind of go out there and run this offense and make some good throws, and obviously he did some good things with his feet, but he has to prove that he can be the backup to Goff. And like you said, even if Goff goes down, I think we're in big trouble. Maybe we can bring Tom Brady out of retirement if Goff does go down.
I was going to say
Tom Brady loves the Lions, by the way, so he loves the offense.
Yeah, but Goff told him to stay away from the quarterback series. So.
But other than the backup, I thought the defense was much improved in that game. They did a much better job, and then obviously Isaac Teslaa is proving that he might be that third wide receiver in this offense.
I was going to be my next question for the two of you, because he obviously had that great catch against Atlanta. So good to see a local guy kind of get that exposure. He wanted to be drafted by Detroit. He is a Detroit Lion. He is performing really well. Just so good to see a guy like that continue to do really well and will undoubtedly make this team probably.
Oh yeah, definitely. And to get his first touchdown, that was like awesome to see that. And like Teslaa, even when he was at Uni Christian, like he was just a kid that just worked really, really hard. His work ethic is kind of unmatched, And I kind of compared to Aiden Hutchinson a little bit. Like being you're growing up a Lions fan and you get to be on the Lions, you're going to do whatever it takes to make this team. And then, once you make the team, to go out and contribute for this team. So yeah, I just think his work ethic has been unbelievable, and he's had a great training camp and a good first couple games. And I hope he gets a little more playing time in these next couple games. Right? He's kind of been limited a little bit, but put him out there, see if he can definitely play. Keep doing what he's doing and get a chance to play with the first, that first team.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely looked impressive so far. I think he's probably the brightest spot in the offense, maybe of the whole preseason so far. Some of the catches he's made downfield, because obviously just with the stock that they put in him, you wanted to see him turn out and be good, because a lot of people questioned it. Obviously, again, you never want to take away too much from training camp. He's got to do it between the lines, and he's going to have a lot of growing pains. It's almost guaranteed, but I like it a lot. This is a good wide receiver room in general already with Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. If he's able to, obviously Tim Patrick's going to give everything he has to be the third person in this offense. But if you have Teslaa kind of pushing them, and they got guys like Ronnie Bell, who actually had a little bit of success last year in San Francisco, they have a lot of talent to pick from. That's not a bad thing. And I think Tesla's definitely making a push to be one of those guys that might be able to actually play when they have three wide receiver sets. Because right now he looks like he's got good hands. That touchdown catch, that was a good ball, but it also was a really, really good catch.
He's always had good hands.
That doesn't matter. Preseason or not, that was a good catch. That guy was all over him. So, it was impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, well, we do have a little bit of time left. So, Andy, I think we teased it a little bit at the beginning. We've been doing it on a week-by-week basis right now of talking about some of our favorite sports memories that we've actually been a part of. We've had a lot of time, of course, covering sports, but then also just watching sports as fans. So, Andy, you've got a really cool one. Another golf memory for us to talk about. Why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I thought about it all day. I had to kind of think about which one to pick. It was how do you pick your favorite one? But this one just always kind of makes me laugh. So, Jack Doles, my boss here at Wood TVA, has been with me for about, I think it's 8 years now. This was early on, probably my second or third year, when American Dunes Golf Course was just starting to get built. He called me really late in the day, and he needed somebody to go out there and cover this press conference with Jack Nicklaus, because he is the one who designed the course, and he was having an interview kind of talking about what some of the holes meant to him and the folds of honor that they do out there and all that stuff. So, of course, being that young, when you get to talk to somebody like Jack Nicklaus, you're like, yeah, I'm going to take it no matter what. But obviously, when you're trying to drive, I think it was at 4 or 5 o'clock, and you're trying to drive out towards Grand Haven, the traffic gets kind of bad. So I was already Jack Nicklaus doesn't know this when I get there, but I was told about this pretty late. But I did make it out there when there was still a scrum of people around him, and I remember they were kind of by that 18th hole when you come up there. It was obviously under construction then, so it was all dirt behind him and stuff, but now you can envision it. And I go running out there trying to get this scrum. I'm thinking to myself, this had to have been going on for a minute. And I'm a pretty young reporter at that time, so when you talk to people like this, you're still a little starstruck. And I get out there, and I can hear the last couple of questions getting asked. I can tell that they're not the first questions of the interview, but I'm I need this quote for them to use for whatever we're gonna play at our 5 and 6 and stuff like that. So the interview kind of gets done, and I say, actually, Jack, can I get a second? I was like, what does this course mean to you? And and he interrupts me before I even get it out, and he's just kind of oh, this guy asking me this again, blah blah blah, and he gives me a bunch of crap, and I'm just he was kind of just giving me crap, but you could tell there was a little bit of sarcasm in his voice, and I'm all red faced. I end up asking him the question again or whatever, but when the cameras got turned off and everything, he actually sat and talked to me for a second. It was really cool, and had a real conversation with me.
That's cool.
And I will always take that to heart, because I was wow, that's just one of those things that I can always say I've got yelled at by Jack Nicklaus, in air quotes, which is something that's kind of funny to me, and I would have laughed about it anyway, just because that's you always get these random stories in media when you go to all these different events. You never know what's going to happen. I think that's one of the coolest parts about our job. And that day, I didn't know that he was going to react to me like that. I think he was mostly kidding, but in the end, he ended up talking to me and having a good conversation and trying to give me a couple tips on a swing, actually, and stuff like that. So that was cool, because that was just something that I always think about when I've had moments with so many big athletes, obviously Miguel Cabrera, Barry Sanders. I don't know, people that are just huge figures, not just here in Michigan, but around the country. But Jack Nicklaus is arguably the best golfer ever. So it was definitely cool to have that kind of a memory with him.
I probably would have been freaking out if I even if I even had to be there like in his presence, even if I was just recording, to ask him a question. I don't know if I would have been able to do that. The
scrum was pretty small at that point too. So like when it's down to like 2 or 3 people, and it's like it's like a one-on-one thing. And Jack Nicklaus is thinking about getting to his next event, his private jet, whatever it is. Like he's not. He doesn't want to talk to me. Yeah. So some kid that's coming with the camera and stuff like that when he's talked to that many people. So. Yeah, I didn't blame him for being like a little upset about it. I understand that. You never want to have to repeat yourself. It's always kind of annoying. But yeah, I was definitely a little starstruck for a second. But then like, again, those are the kind of things that build you up and like make you feel more comfortable in the future when you talk to bigger athletes with profiles like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great story. Thank you so much for sharing it with us, Andy. We so do appreciate it. We're going to have more sports memories as well as some more sports talk coming up next week on the Sports Frenzy podcast. Dean and Andy will be joining me once again. We will see you guys again that time. In the meantime, though, thank you everybody for watching.